Hi, my name is Joseph Michael Matembo, and in this video tutorial I am going to show you how to create a web page layout. The page layout that we are going to create, I've already created it in MS Word, and that's how it's going to look like. Or it's going to have those different sections: logo, menu, social, banner, top section, top section, top section, top section, left section, middle section, right section, then footer. How many sections are those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we have 12 sections on our page, or the page that we are going to create. And you can see I've given each section a name, so that it's easy for us to identify the section in our HTML and also in our CSS files. Notice that for this part I have the top section and I repeat the same name, same name, same name. That is because in simple terms I'm going to create a class, one class top section, to refer to all those four. Okay, so let's start. Well, you will need a text editor. I'll be using Sublime, so open up your Sublime and get started. Or if you have any other text editor, of course, still to work, but I'll be showing you the whole process using Sublime. So let's create a new file, new file, then save it, file, save. So remember, I haven't created any folder where I should be saving this file, so I'm not just going to save it anywhere. So I'm going to create a folder, still using the same save as dialog box. Just find anywhere that you want to save, maybe in local disk D or documents, whatever that is easy for you to get back to. So I'm saving mine in projects and create a folder there. I'm going to name mine ABC Limited. You can give your folder whatever name you want. So I'm just assuming that I'm creating a layout for ABC Limited. I don't know whether it exists or it's fictional, but this is just for purposes of learning. So I open the folder I've just created. I either double click or simply click on open here. As you can see, it says projects, then ABC Limited. So I name my file index.html and I save. Okay. So notice that when you save, it changes from untitled to index.html. So let's straight away also create the CSS file. Given that to create the layout we need two files, the index file or the HTML file, and as well as a CSS file. So file, new file, and it's untitled, so let's save it, file, save. I'm not going to save it in the same folder as ABC Limited. Rather, I'm going to create for it a new folder, though inside ABC Limited. So new folder, while inside ABC Limited, new folder, CSS, click to open such that it reads ABC then CSS. So I saved it there, default.css. That's the name I've given it to my file. You may save the file as something else, maybe layout.css or style.css, whatever suits you, but whatever name you choose should make sense. So don't save your file xxxob.css. What does that mean? So your file names should create sense, so that in case someone else is reading or checking through your files, they're able to understand what possibly could be inside that file. So click save such that we get started. So you can see my two files are both empty because we have not done anything. All we did was to just create the files and save them. Okay, so let's start with the index.html file. So in case you hadn't clicked on it yet, please click on the index.html file so that we type inside the index.html file. So all our HTML code will go in the index.html file, while our CSS code will go in the default.css file. So we start with declaring the version of HTML we are using. So that line will tell the browser that this is an HTML5 document. Rather, HTML5 elements. Let's just choose HTML5 for now. So HTML or let's just be spelling right. So HTML open, HTML close. This is the open tag for the HTML element, and this is the close tag for the HTML document. So I usually when I'm writing my element, when I open it, I close it immediately. This helps me to avoid forgetting. Well, sometimes I can mean to have short memory or be very forgetful. Wow, this is a misspelling of HTML as well. So let's finish up the basic structure of the HTML document. Okay, so we have the head element just outside. This is the open tag for the HTML, rather the head element, and this is the close tag for the head element. So just below the head, the entire head element, we add body. That's it. So we have a basic structure of an HTML element, rather HTML page, sorry. So inside the head, I'm going to add the title for our page. That title is going to appear in the browser's tab title. So this will be APC Limited. So still inside the head, but below the title. Of course, you may put the following element just above the title, but still inside the head, or whatever, as long as you're writing this inside the head element. So what I'm going to add is the link. That link element is simply going to tell HTML where our default.css file should be found. So remember, while I was saving, I saved ABC. I created a folder called ABC Limited. Inside there, I saved a file called index, the one that I am editing right now. Then I created the CSS folder there. Then inside the CSS folder is where I saved my default.css file. Of course, you don't see the .css file, but you can see the type here. It's a CSS file. So we must tell our index.html file through this link element where our default.css file is located. And in our case, we know that our index.html file is inside the ABC limited folder, or the folder that you created. Then our default is inside the CSS folder. So I type CSS there. Okay. And since that's the folder, I add / then the name of the file, which is default.css. Please don't forget the extension .css, very important. Okay, inside the body, this is where we are going to create the different sections of our page. You saw earlier the layout we're going to have and the different sections. So just to go through it again, let me just count the different sections. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12 for the footer, and 13. 13? Where is the 13th one? The 13th section is the container, or what you call the wrapper, the one that is holding all these sections together. So like the boundary, I would say. So I'll give that the container. I've not given it a name because I don't have where to type that. So this, just know that the container, the one holding all these small sections together, is the first section we create in our index.html file. So there we are. We use the div. This div is going to be our first section. Now notice that the div element I've just added there, yeah, fine, it will work for us, but we haven't told HTML what name we should use to refer to this div element. So I'm going to use id container. Well, I'm using an id because I'm only going to have one container for my page. I'm not going to have 2 containers, 3 containers. No, I'm going to have one container. Same thing with these other layouts, rather sections. Logo, I'm going to give it id. Menu also id. Banner id. Right section id, like that, because they only appear once and I want to be repeating that. For the top sections, as you can see, they repeat themselves, they have the same name, so I'll give those ones a class. So container, so given that the container is the one wrapping every other section together, so all the sections that you're going to be creating are going to be inside the container. So let's create them. Div id logo. Now notice that I'm now not going to add something inside the div id logo because we are creating sections right now. So I add the other section just below the logo. Notice that the logo opens from there and then closes at that point. This space is where I shall be typing content for the logo. So I create the second block or section within the container just under the logo, and this is the menu this time. Div id menu, div id social. Okay, so what I've just done, we've just created these 3 sections: logo, menu, social. So I'm simply just going to copy and paste the same sections in my HTML. Copy these. I can just take one, copy it. That's Ctrl+C after highlighting. Click at the end, create some space, Ctrl+V to paste. So all I'll be doing is simply either change the name here or change this to class for the top section. So this, I'll change this to banner. Change this to top section. This top section is a class. I change that to class. Okay. Continue. That will be left section. This will be middle section. Right section. And lastly, the footer. Okay, save your changes. Simply press Ctrl+S on your keyboard. You would save your changes. So notice that we have how many sections? The container: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there were 13, right? Oops, I had forgotten. Div class top section we had 4 of them and I only made 1. That's supposed to be 13. So 12. Sorry, let's copy that, paste, paste, paste. Okay, so we have the 4 top sections. They are right there. Top section 1, top section 2, top section 3, top section 4. Those are the same ones we have right there. So next thing, let's just add some content, because what we have done here, nothing will show on our page. This is a completely empty page. Let's prove that. Simply right click anywhere, then click on open in browser. Your browser should open and you can see the whole place is all white, but you can see the title here, like I said, will appear on the tab ABC Limited, but your page itself, the body, has nothing in it. So let's add something there to at least visually show our different sections. So I'll type here, logo here, menu here, social, given that it's a very small box, banner here, top section here, copy that, paste, paste, and paste. Left section here, middle section here, and lastly footer here. Okay, so once you have that, then you can again check on your browser, refresh it. Okay, that is enough for now and for our HTML document. So let's switch to the default.css file. So to start with, we start with the container. For each section that we want to format, we must have its representative this side as a selector in the default.css file. So all these, right from the container to the logo up to the footer, are all going to be represented here. So notice that how I write the container, because the container is an ID, I begin with hash, then container, no space in between, and it can be like that. As you can see, even the color changes, so meaning that's a problem. So let me just copy this, paste, change that to logo. Notice that this time, much as in the index file, I had the container opening and then closing down at the bottom, thus wrapping every section inside it. Well, with the CSS we don't do that. For example, you wouldn't do this. No, this is wrong. Okay, each section is treated separately, rather each selector is treated separately. So we do have that. Just copy that and then paste. So this will be menu, social, banner, then top section. Notice for the top section being a class, I begin with a period or a full stop. And much as there are 4 in our layout, I simply have to write the class once, since whatever I'll put whatever declarations I'll put inside the top section selector will apply to all the 4. So rename that to left section, middle section, right section, and then the footer. Lastly, the footer. So let's begin by specifying the width and height, either one of them or both of them, for the different sections. Of course, some sections are not going to have height, while others are not going to have the width, then while others may have both. So I'll tell you why. Let's start with the container. Container width. Notice when you're writing a declaration, you start with its property, followed by full colon, that is to end the name of the property. Then you follow with the value. So width, I'm going to give our width 1080 pixels. So the full declaration is written this way: the name of the property, followed by a full colon. This space is not mandatory, you may have the space there or not. Then followed by the value, in this case it may be a figure or a word. Then the semicolon, this I'll be calling the terminator, to terminate, to show that the declaration has ended. Now we can write the second declaration, the third declaration, and so forth. So given that the container is the one wrapping all these other sections together of the page, we will have to make sure that our width does not go beyond 1080. We'll see what I mean by that. Okay, for logo, now notice that in our layout, our logo, main, and social are horizontally placed in the same place. Yeah, much as you see logo is on the left, then you have main in the middle, but horizontally they are taking the same, they're trying to share the same width. So given that there are 3 of them, we have to divide the 1080 pixels for the entire container and allocate the logo some width, the menu some width, and then the social some width. Then they will be peaceful. Else, if we don't specify the width, then the logo alone, for example, will want to take the entire width of 180 automatically. So width, let's give it 150 pixels. We may change it in case it doesn't look good. Then menu width, let's see, at 1080 we have already taken off 150, so we are left with 1030. So let me make this 850 pixels. Then so if you have 850 and 150, that makes it 1000, so the balance is the 80. So I give that to the social section of our page. Banner, now notice that the banner is taking the full width of our container, so we don't need to set that, or to automatically be given to it, since the container is like the boundary, okay, or its limit. So we simply set the height this time. Height, I'm going to give it 300 pixels. Top section, so for the top section we want to limit the width and as well the height. Since there are 4, and I'm going to make them equal, like quadruplets, I will shed 1080 pixels amongst the 4, so each of them should have an equal. So what is 1080 divided by 4? Yeah, right. It's 270. So width 270 pixels. Then let's give it a height to limit it to 200. In case it is too let's say too tall, we'll reduce it. So now notice that for the type section I'm giving it both a width and a height, while these other ones I'm either giving them width or height. Now let's start from here. The container is only 1080 pixels wide, but height is not specified. Why? Well, the page we are trying to create is going to be like a template or a base from which we are going to create other HTML pages. So since they're going to follow the same layout, those different pages are not going to have the same amount of content on them. So we do not specify the height such that the height will keep fluctuating automatically depending on how much content you put on your page, the different page sections, either especially in the middle section. That's where most of our content will be going for a specific page. I have not set height for logo, menu and social, but I am going to set them, only that I didn't want to set them here right now. I'm going to come to that later. So left section width, let's give that 200. Then middle section, since I intend to give 200 to also the right, so if I have left section takes 200, then right section takes 200, that's 400. So 1080 minus 400, we have 680. Width 200 pixels. Then footer, I don't need to set the width, I only set the height. So 50 pixels. Now, like I said earlier, I also need to set the height for these three triplets here, though some are bigger, like the menu. These three, logo, menu, social, they are in the same area horizontally, but you can see they somehow visually they seem to be having the same height. Okay, so I would of course simply type here height, maybe put 80 pixels, then height 80 pixels, then height 80 pixels. Well, that increases just because we have just begun, so the code is little, so yeah, you definitely don't mind doing that. But at some point we may want to add some styling which applies the same style but or some formatting applying to the social, to the menu and to the logo. So you don't want to keep repeating the same declarations over and over again for the three. So this is how we do it. So I remove that. There they are, just simply width, and add it just below the container. Hash logo, comma, hash menu, comma, then hash social, not comma again, please. Okay, there are three of them. Now what I have just done here is I have created what they call a compound selector. A compound selector simply has two or more selectors separated by commas. So when I have a compound selector like this, it means whatever declaration we put inside a compound selector applies to the individual selectors that are within the compound selector. So for example, now when I type height 80 pixels, This will mean that this height is going to be applied to the logo, it's going to be applied to the menu, and it's going to be applied, yeah, guess right, to the social. So that in case I want to again add any other declarations that apply to the entire three, that's where I'll be putting them. So when you want some styling that is going to affect two or more selectors, then you need to make a compound selector that way. Okay, so shouldn't we view our page right now and see what happens? No. There, hit refresh, there we are. So we have logo, menu here, social, banner here, top section, top section, top section, top section, left section, middle section, right section, up to footer here. So we have all the sections, but they do not look arranged the way our layout looks here in the Word. So we are going to do that next. We are now going to start placing those different sections to be exactly that, the way we have seen them in the Word, the layout which is in the Word document. So let's go back to Sublime. Here, I want to float the logo, the menu, and the social to the left. So I don't this way again the compound selector comes in handy, so I don't have to put float left there, float there, float left there, and then also float left there. So I simply put it there once. So this is going to change and put our logo, menu, social in a horizontal placement, something like that. Notice that logo, menu, social. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for the top section. Where is it? There. Okay, that should work. Same thing here. Of course, I also want to float all these three to the left, so I'll just make a compound selector there, left section. There. So when you refresh, that's what you get. Somehow our page is coming out fine, but notice that it starts right at the left side of the screen and then stops somewhere there. Yeah, that's the 1080 pixels, that's where they stop. That means my screen is wider. Your screen could be smaller or it could be bigger, so who cares? All we want to do is to make sure that our page appears in the middle of the screen. So we do that onto the container. Replace margin auto. So what margin auto is doing is that it will automatically know the width of your screen, then use that to be able to calculate to make sure that our page appears in the middle. So let's see, refresh. Notice that our page now is placed in the middle and we have our sections. Lastly is the footer, height, footer, blah blah blah. So to demonstrate, I'm just going to add here. Let's first switch back to the index file, create some paragraph here inside the right section. Then copy this content and duplicate it, copy it, and then paste it. Notice that mine, I'm putting the spaces, copy the entire one. Okay. That should do. Copy that. Let's see. Great. There's something that I wanted you to see. That's why I told you to do that. Copy and paste and create this kind of thing. So notice that our footer is supposed to be at the bottom there, but it has come right here. Why? Do you have an error? No, you don't have an error. The thing is, when we have divided our horizontally, we have divided the left took 200 pixels, middle took 280, right took 200 pixels in terms of their width. But remember, we didn't set the height, because I told you earlier the height is going to be relative, so content will keep expanding depending on which page that you are, the content that you're adding into these different sections. For example, in the left section, when you add content that is beyond what is this side on the right, you'll see that the footer is pushed to the right. So in the same way, if I was to add any content here in the middle section, and its height, for example, goes beyond what is on the left, then this footer here will expand, or rather will be moved and be taken to the right section. Let me just do that to demonstrate. Let's have the P again. Copy, paste. Since the middle section is large, you might need like 6 or 5 of these paragraphs. Okay, hit refresh. Wow, those are too few. We need more. Okay, there we are. So notice where the footer is right now. The footer is here, like it also says, this footer here. So what is happening is that it looks like the footer doesn't have a specific position where it should be. Well, it's not like, according to our code, everything is just right, because the footer is at the bottom. But where is it appearing? That side. This is no longer the bottom. So to rectify that, you only have to add one simple line of code in the CSS. There, clear both. Okay, so once we do that, everything is just going to be fine. Boom. Notice the footer goes right there. So this time, however much we add content, either to the left, the middle or right, and keeps expanding, the footer is going to always be at the bottom at all times. Yeah, so let's go to the index.html file and then do the same thing we have been doing for the top section. P, copy that, copy it entirely, copy that, paste there, paste there, paste there. If you're really going to type all this thing, I don't know how much time you're going to take, so please, copying and pasting should become a piece of cake for you. So just wanted to show you how the content in the top section is also going to be, then our content there. So our layout is out. That's exactly how it looks like in our Word document. They now look the same. Okay, that is all for today's class on creating a layout. Thanks for watching, enjoy HTML and CSS.